Redfall had some red flags before release, but now the game is officially out, and things are not looking good for Microsoft, Bethesda, or the team at Arcane Austin.
I saw what you did there with the red flags thing, Evan. I like that a lot. And it makes me sad as it's an Austin studio. The review embargo dropped with the release of the game yesterday, and we just started seeing all kinds of bad things from critics pretty much right away.
It was brutal. BK also spotted this tweet from Benji Sales, who I think is a great video games industry analyst. He posted the reviews. They came in VGC 4 out of 5, which was on the high end, and then everything else 7.5, 7, 6.5. GameSpot had it at a 4 out of 10. Kind of funny, 2 out of 5. Oh, it got rough in there.
I don't know what happened, but I feel like Twitter and game reviewers in general have just gotten really mean. They're just eviscerating games. Tony Polanco said Redfall getting eviscerated on the timeline. Xbox can't catch a break this generation. That is absolutely true.
That's a good tweet that encapsulates if you were online yesterday and just watching when the embargo dropped, everybody just started swarming. And yeah, Destin Legary over at IGN, he said, I've played enough Redfall to tell you it's a bad game. Brain dead AI, empty world, buggy tech issues. Oof.
Jez Corden said Redfall doesn't earn its place as an always online service game with awful RPG layers and loot that should have never been included. However, it's very pretty and a solid shooter with a story that kept me engaged throughout. You spoon in the sugar to shove the medicine down. That's rough. I don't like that.
And then there was Timur Hussein over at GameSpot / Giant Bomb, who wrote, as a big Arcane liker, playing Redfall was heartbreaking. The pieces of something interesting are there, but so are signs that an ambitious idea was stripped down to something functional, and it often doesn't manage that.
Yeah, and the Metacritic score just kind of reflects everything going on right now. It's at a 59 right now for the PC version. Then it's a 60 something, 63 for Xbox. Man, I don't know. What's going on with video games now, Evan? What's happening with this? Can you explain? Please, just illuminate me on why video games are so rough now.
It has been an ongoing thing, right? All of these new launches. We just did this story yesterday, right?
I know.
With Jedi Survivor, and now before that we had The Last of Us Part 1 on PC. That port was a huge mess. And it's easy for people to get mad at developers here, but you also got to think about the publisher's role in all this too. They're pushing for these deadlines, for these release dates to make their quarterly earnings and things like that. And that kind of responsibility also gets shoved onto developers, even though they know some of these bugs and things exist. Yeah. So it's a weird situation for them, and obviously, people should fight to try and get their games delayed. Redfall was delayed, I think twice even. It
is interesting now that you're seeing fewer games be released flawlessly than you are seeing with issues. I'm thinking Dead Space Remake actually came out, and it was it was actually solid. It was that one, They pretty much nailed it from day one. And even Hogwarts Legacy, that did pretty well considering the size of that game. But it's aside from those, it's just I feel everything's coming out with issues now. So the Steam reviews, we mentioned Jedi Survivor. The Steam reviews are also mostly negative for this game as well over on Steam, and that's the worst. That hurts for these teams that have been working on these games for years.
It seems like players are mostly upset with the value proposition here. We had one reviewer who said, ignoring the performance issues, this game is bad. The AI is pathetic, even on the highest difficulty. The controls are clunky. The graphics are average. The world is empty. I don't understand why these companies think they can start charging $70 for unfinished garbage. I couldn't even stomach an hour of this game. And it just goes on, the negative reviews on Steam. This game obviously has a lot less reviews on Steam. At this time for Jedi Survivor, we saw about 3,000. Now we're looking at under 1,000 reviews. Part of that is because of Game Pass. This is a Game Pass game, but you have to imagine, even if this was meant to be a game that highlights the benefits of having a Game Pass subscription, it's kind of damaging to the brand to have a first-party title like this release and be in this kind of a state where everybody's just really dumping on it.
Yeah, you figure Microsoft right now wants some wins, and they are not getting that. Even when Halo Infinite had some issues coming out and all this, it's what is going to be the next thing? And even people had issues with Jedi Survivor, but at least the core of that game, people are there's a good game here. It's the game itself is solid. It's a good follow-up. It just has some tech issues. Those feel like they can get polished out. But for something like Redfall, it sounds like there's just not a lot inside. And so, when you compare the two, it's well, this one I feel can get better, but this one, can you polish a turd, really?
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part. There was a lot of red flags for Redfall again. The locked 30 frames per second on console, the online requirement for a co-op game, different things like that, where people are I don't know. But then also the late embargo, right? Usually games embargo for reviews released before the game launches. to get like the marketing, get into the marketing cycle, right? Get people hyped up for the game. That's like the inside kind of thing for game reviewers, is like, oh, this is a late embargo. Like the company itself doesn't have faith in this game, basically is what that's equated to. There's just a number of bugs that if you go online, you can see a lot of like really bad textures popping in. There's like characters sliding down stairs, or you see like T-posing, and some other things like that. Just kind of par for the course for like these AAA launches, especially on PC lately, where things are just really busting. It seems like they need more time in the oven. We talked about this on yesterday's video, in which like there was a game developer from Naughty Dog who said like, hey, it's like hard to prepare for all these different configurations of all the different PC hardware that people have, but like apparently people are still having problems on Xbox.
Even now, Game Rant's reporting that Redfall, of course, is getting review bombed, because what else do you need on top of everything else? And that review bombing is a thing now that people love doing. They love piling on.
I feel like last year every major title got review bombed in a way, but it's also interesting for games like Redfall, where they clearly have a lot of issues. And like, I do think people have a tendency to dogpile and like say like, oh, this game has technical issues, let's just like, jump on it in Metacritic or whatever in the reviews. But like, this game also really does have serious issues with it. And the gameplay loop, like people haven't been enjoying it. It's been a little bit lackluster. Is that actually review bombing, or are people kind of reflecting the experience that they're having at that point? Yeah. I don't condone review bombing in any sense, because I think it's like, Metacritic has a big problem there that they definitely need to work harder to solve, because people shouldn't just be able to log in and then like give a game a 0 or a 1 or whatever to like pull that score down.
Yeah.
You would hope that everybody's trying to be honest.
Yeah, you need some sort of quality control on that to make sure it's not just fake accounts and whatnot, or thin accounts just to make bad reviews. Like you need to show that this is a human behind this. We need more captchas, is what I understand.
Well, yeah, yeah, right. The thing is too, like Resident Evil 4 remake, which is a great game, I think it's a very good, strong remake, was getting review bombed, presumably for like the Ada performance and things like that. And then there was Burning Shores of the Horizon DLC. That was also getting review bombed. And those games, they were getting review bombed, like I feel like unjustly. But in the case of like Jedi Survivor, which did get backlash, and this game Redfall, yeah, some of these issues really are here, and you can't ignore them. But again, like we said with Jedi Survivor, critics did seem to say like, hey, there's a good game in here, and now Respawn's gonna patch the technical issues away, which isn't great. That's like, to get a game on launch and have it be broken, that's not a win. But I don't think Redfall is gonna have the same kind of luck here in being able to patch that stuff out.
Well, I mean, that pretty much wraps up kind of our look at this, right? I mean, like, so really, I guess the big question is now, is this a Game Pass game? Is this a $70 game? Like, where does this come into play? Like, I mean, is Game Pass ruining the possible quality of these larger games? Like, what do you think?
I think, yeah, that's a decent question. Well, I don't want to say like Game Pass would be like ruining per se. There's tons of Microsoft studios. They're trying to get games out. The big draw for Game Pass obviously is having day one, like first party titles, big games. You look at something like a Starfield or something that's on the way, right? But you have something like a Redfall that damages that kind of perception of how good these first party games actually are. And that could potentially damage like the value of Game Pass itself. I personally think there's plenty of things there. In terms of indie games and great third-party titles on Game Pass, it's still a really good value. But like one of the major draws, I think, is also having access to things like Halo Infinite, and like having like those things hit a home run and like be these awesome games that you also get access to. And then maybe like this is the last straw for some people. I don't know, like losing faith in the brand of like Microsoft Studios. This was supposed to be the year, Jack. This was supposed to be the year.
It is interesting because you have like a buffet, like where the Game Pass is like a buffet of games, and it's like if you get the one bad piece of meat in the buffet, it's like, oh, does that ruin it all for you, or can you throw it off and be like, all right, that was a bad one, we'll move on to the indie, cupcakes.
Sure, and luckily games are like long in terms of like how much time it takes you to like consume one. So if there is a bad game, I feel like you can kind of get lost in some other games, but like definitely sucks for people who are looking forward to Redfall and to have it kind of not fire on in any cylinders. I think there is a contingency of people who are, having fun with the game. They don't care if it's locked at 30 frames per second, but like, yeah, some of these issues, you just can't ignore them.
Well, what we can do, Evan, is we can ask all the people watching right now, what do you guys think? Do you think a game like this kind of ruins all of Game Pass? Do you think it tears it down? Do you think it doesn't matter that much? Let us know in the comments. We want to hear your feedback. I love seeing the discourse in the Inside Gaming comments. It's really, really awesome. So please spread the love and let us know. Also, we're trying some new stuff here as far as the way we're putting out content, so we hopefully get more stuff out quicker, so things might look a little different. We're doing some new shorts. We're like me, BK, and Blizz, and Evan, we're all working on some really fun stuff here at Inside Gaming, really just growing this legacy brand back, where it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. But thank you very much, Evan, for having me on.
Yeah, no, thank you everybody at home for watching. For more video game news and updates, stay tuned right here to Inside Gaming.